They also live at on YouTube and Facebook, having the crucial conversations that Erie needs. And we're glad to welcome with us here Paul Vojtek and Jim DeDad. They are from the Millcreek Township Government Study Commission. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. Appreciate you taking the time to be with us here, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Alrighty, we're a family show. Let's get a quick origin stories. Paul, where did you come up, and how did you get involved with the commission here?
Well, I'm a Pittsburgh native, so I'm officially up here.
Okay.
Pittsburgh.
Whereabouts? Northtown, Southtowns?
Homestead.
Oh
I'm
gosh.
on Homestead.
Yeah. Famous.
And we moved up here about 27 years ago. Wife and two kids, to work for the Erie Waterworks. Mm-hmm. Spent my career there and retired about a little over a year and a half ago. Was interested in trying to give back to the community a little bit. And when this opportunity came to serve on this commission, I thought, well, I might have something to bring to the table with this thing. So threw my hat in the ring and got elected by the voters in Millcreek Township. I was appreciative of that. And for the last 9-10 months, I've been working with colleagues like Jim and 5 others. There's 7 of us on the commission, and it was along with 4 or 5 alternates. Yeah. It's been quite an eye-opening experience.
Yeah, totally volunteer, right, Jim?
Absolutely.
Yes, definitely.
How'd you come up, Jim?
Well, I recently, I've been retired since January of 2024. Worked over at Erie Insurance, and my background is in internal audit and governance, risk, and compliance.
Did you grow up here in Erie?
I grew up in Erie.
Okay.
Lived in Erie until I, got married, and then I was in Millcreek for the majority of that time. So,
kids go to McDowell and all that?
Kids went to McDowell, and so I love the area, and I was looking to kind of wean myself away from work, and thought that this might be a good opportunity to use my experience in audit and governance.
Wow.
And so,
Here we are.
Here we are. That's right.
So one of the big questions that comes immediately to mind is why do you think that the public said, hey, let's study this thing? Because they studied it, I want to say, 10, 20 years ago, and they said, we studied it and we don't want to change. What precipitated this go-around, you think?
Well, just a correction. It was 12 years ago.
Was it 12 now?
13
Okay.
years ago, I believe it was, that they did this study. And it wasn't the citizens that said we didn't want to change. It was the
commission itself. Yeah.
So the citizens had no choice. They voted for the commission to do the study, but once the commission recommended no change, well, it just ended right there. Right. So, so the citizens really didn't get a chance to weigh in. And it's interesting, though, back then that what we're recommending now is institutionalizing what they were also suggesting would be a good thing, but it never happened. They thought that, well, it could be done without the voters voting. The supervisors themselves in place could simply add 2 more commissioners if they felt they wanted to do that, and it's not that simple. But that's the way they, communicated it.
We're hearing that too. Where and I apologize if I jump around.
That's okay.
Sure,
but it's kind of that kind of a issue. Mm-hmm. Whereas there's one thing that depends on another thing, and you're just trying to navigate a straight line, but there really isn't a straight line. But one of the things that came out of the conversation last week with Grant Philbeck, who's one of the opponents to your suggestion from the commission, is that the commissioners right now could hire a mayor if they wanted to, right? I mean,
well, they could hire a
manager.
They could hire a manager.
Well, the big problem with that, Joel, is they can't do it. They haven't done it, obviously.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
And as I always say, the referendum. This is not a referendum on the supervisors. This is a referendum on the form of government.
But it does feel like that.
It does feel like that. But so
it's
people understand this. The supervisors that are in place, if this gets approved by the voters in November, they still serve out their terms. They were legally elected. They're still going to be part of the solution. There would be another election, a municipal election in 2027, because we just have one now in 2025, and the new government would take effect in 2028, January of 2028. The reason why we're asking to change the form of government, it would codify that manager position versus just having it as a hired employee that could be eliminated or whatever at the whim of the supervisors. And I find it interesting that even the opponents say they could do that. Well, that's pretty much what we're suggesting here in our change in the form of government, is adding 2 supervisors to the mix. They would become part-time supervisors where they wouldn't be the administration overseeing the operation of the township. They would hire a person. He or she would be based on qualifications, based on education, based on experience, bring professionalism to the township leadership, and let the supervisors concentrate on establishing policy, direction, like it is done in every single other township of the second class in Pennsylvania with populations of over 25,000. We're about the second or third. I think Jim said somebody just passed Millcreek. We're now the third largest in population. We're the only one operating where we have elected officials also assigning themselves to become full-time employees. That's just our form of government. That's the way it's always been done. Our supervisors aren't doing anything that nobody's done before.
Right.
So it's actually our form of government that would codify the manager as part of the administration of the township itself, leaving the supervisors to make act as supervisors and not as managers.
When you think about that manager, would we have a minimum requirement? I was asking about, would they have to have a master's in public administration? I mean, what kind of person would you want as a manager?
Well, and that's a very good question, Joel. I think if this thing is approved by the voters, then a transition team is created. Created by the supervisors, the sitting supervisors. They could establish the rules by which they want to play. You could ask for a MBA, you could ask for a bachelor's, you could ask for residency, you could ask for professional. I mean, township managers even have professional certifications now,
like a PC.
Yeah, exactly. They could set the
PE degree or whatever.
Exactly.
As an engineer.
You set the parameters of what you want, and of course, then the higher the level, then the more expensive that becomes.
What are you seeing?
You get the repayment by their expertise.
What are you seeing when you benchmarked a lot of other townships, right? Mm-hmm. What did you see when you went to Did you talk to Bensalem? That seems to be the biggest one, right?
Bensalem was one of them. I wasn't involved in that interview,
right?
But the biggest ones are Lower Paxton and what's the other one? Begins with an M.
Middletown.
Middletown. Yeah, Middletown.
So Middletown is actually in Dauphin,
closest.
Right?
Dauphin County.
Yeah, Dauphin County. And is Bensalem, I don't know where.
They're in
the other one that you mentioned, I'm sorry.
By Philadelphia.
Yeah. Is that by Philly? Is it Philly County?
Yep.
Okay. So what did you discover?
So in terms of salaries, are you
thinking?
Well,
I'm thinking more of, franctionality, and again, we want a government that works for the citizens, that is a sustainable government. Frankly, that doesn't have as much drama as Millcreek Township seems to have often. What do you think?
Well, the individuals we spoke to all spoke highly of how things are functioning with their form of government, with the council members working together with their manager, and we also talked to several different council members and managers. So, we were just finding out
one of the big things that is coming out of this, Joel, is the use of our solicitor. I know I'm going to jump.
Yeah,
a little bit too.
Yeah, sure.
And with no disrespect to the solicitor, the person's asked for advice and he gives advice and they bill him for that. The manager at these other communities, what Jim's found, and he did a very nice summary in the study, is that the manager would answer and handle a lot of the issues that are now based on our form of government, with 3 elected officials basically running the administration of the township, They would handle a lot of those duties that are kind of the solicitor is being leaned on at this point. So when you talk about how is it working, the supervisors or council give direction, set direction for the township. It's carried out by the township manager. That separation of duties is imperative to success. You don't have a ship that has 3 captains, right?
Right.
You have somebody running the ship. You have somebody giving direction. Department of Navy, and here's your captain. Something like that. But it becomes more functional. That word you use, we don't have it more functional. The township manager would handle all the administration. Whether that person would require an assistant or not, that's unknown at this point. The way we looked at it is what we're suggesting as a manager, and then having part-time counsel with very limited stipends. So from a cost savings perspective, from an operational perspective, it just seemed to me, as a guy that was working to try to cut costs and keep water rates down my entire career, it was almost a no-brainer.
You did find that your payroll would be what? Neutral, lower, higher?
I think the study shows a couple different variables. Initially, it's going to be lower.
Okay.
The payroll, absolutely.
Yeah.
Jim would say absolutely.
Because initially you're only hiring the manager.
The manager.
It's up to the manager to determine how to, structure with an assistant, whether they need to add to staff an assistant, or whether they can maybe promote from within and maybe have that person be doing 2 different roles.
But you would still have public works, you still have parks and rec,
everything would be the
all
same.
those departments are there.
Changes.
Yeah.
And they have a very good setup. The employees, it's a solid, structure.
Right now, it's divvied up 3 different ways of different. One supervisor's the roadmaster, right? And so such a thing. Let's get back to this conversation after our break here. We're talking to our friends from the Millcreek Township Government Study Commission. Stay with us. It's Talk Erie. Back with us here on Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show. We're talking to Paul Vojtek and Jim DeDad from the Millcreek Township Government Study Commission here. One of the complaints that we heard last week from Mr. Philbeck was that, that the commission hired this $85,000 consultant that does these studies. And it's kind of a cookie cutter copy and paste thing that they basically reach the same conclusion no matter what township that they're studying. Can you vouch for the work product of your consultant?
First of all, the figure is more like 70,000, but
okay.
But regardless, he's trying to make a point that it costs some money.
Yeah.
And the thing is without a consultant. And I know that the study back in 2012, they didn't use a consultant, and they said, well, that's a positive thing because they didn't spend a lot of money. Well, their work product, I have to say, wasn't like ours. Without the advice of our consultants, we may have fallen into the same traps that they fell into. I mean, their report was 74 pages. And they think that's great. Well, that's not great because who's going to read 374 pages?
Right.
We may have thought the same thing, but the consultant said, no, you need to be concise to the point, and it's got to be readable so that people pick it up and they can quickly get to the points. Yeah. So that's just one example.
Okay, but to the prevailing situation of saying that the consultants lean one way every time that they do this.
Okay. So I'd like to address that.
Sure.
When we formed our organization, we had an organizational meeting. The consultants came and they showed us the 4 different sets of different types of government that were allowed to be reviewed and
as a second-class township.
As a second-class township,
okay.
Not including home rule because our referendum did not have home rule on it. That's a separate thing. Our referendum in November did not include home rule, so home rule's off the table. So I think you had the mayor council, you had 3 different types of council and manager. We had 2 meetings, 2 hours per meeting, of which they reviewed each of these 4. 2 one meeting, to the next meeting, an hour on each. They reviewed them. They asked each of us, they gave us the home rule charter, which describes them. Here's 7 commissioners, 5 alternates. Take this and study, read. Give us your opinion individually on where you think we should go with this study. Which one of these 4, the optional forms of government, do you think would work best for Millcreek, and also not just for the people, but for the business as well? It was for everything, for everybody. Us 7 individuals with varying backgrounds, independently, and I tell you this, came in with the same conclusion. We asked them to focus on that because that's what we felt was the best for the township. For Millcreek Township, they didn't. This idea that they only went one way. It was totally on the commission, and it was totally our call. The time that the state gives you by the state law is so compact that you couldn't do an in-depth study on every one. That's why they asked us, where do you want us to take you?
We had to focus.
Where do you want us to focus? Exactly.
What is it? I mean, look, I have 2 members of the commission right here. What is it about again, it's kind of like a weak council hired manager, right?
Hired manager, correct.
So weak council hired manager. What is it about this that really appealed to each of you? I'll start with you, Jim. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, my audit background was that the number one thing you look for is the separation of duties.
Okay.
And so we have to separate the legislative from the executive or the management role, which isn't there in our current form of government. They're wearing both hats. Mm-hmm. So they're making the rules and then they're executing their own rules. So that's not a good formula. And so that was the strength. The number one thing in my mind as to why we needed to go with council manager.
Weigh in on that, Paul.
He took mine, right?
Yeah,
no, but I think the way that the council manager is set up, the fact that every single other one does it. I came from Pittsburgh area. One of my dear friends I grew up with is the North Versailles township manager. Before I made my decision, I asked him what he thought. He was a borough manager, Borough Munhall. Then he, kind of stepped up to North Versailles Township. And the way that they work with direction from the council, him just happens to be him, but the township manager running the administration, the effectiveness of that type of government structure, compared to, as Jim said, and as you said earlier, Joel, why Millcreek so maybe fractional or dysfunctional or whatever that word you used.
There's a lot of drama in
drama. That was usually drama.
And to be fair, it's mostly on the school district side of the ledger. But go ahead, yeah.
But like I said last night, like I said all our meetings, Millcreek is not broken. We're not broken. But I do believe we can do it better. Yeah. And I think that's what when I looked at this and I compared what we're doing and what we can do, as I said earlier, I think it's a no-brainer for me.
Yeah. I want you to address one of the arguments against councils and things. An example of this could be, and again, with all deference to the county council, for example, but you have county council members that are working full time. Most of them, they get very limited, resources, and they have to try to manage a $700 million, $600 million budget, and so they just can't be as much on top of things as the executive branch can be, and the specialists. Isn't this just kind of a smaller version of, how the heck will a part-time manager stay on top of like the diversity of all the things that happen in a township? Go ahead.
Okay. So a full-time manager, part-time council. Right?
I'm sorry, right. Yeah.
So that's where you have the professionalism, somebody that brings to the table the ability to operate and administer and administer in the operations. I don't, no matter how many people, elected officials are typically not experts in what they're going to be doing. Right. And I think that when you bring that expertise in with the manager, it makes everybody's job easier.
We got to go to break at the bottom of the hour. You are tuned to Talk Erie. It's an amazing conversation with the members of the Millcreek Government Study Commission. Stay with us.
I'll handle that.
All righty. We are having a lively conversation here with members of the Millcreek Township Government Study Commission. Paul Vojtek, he is the chair. You're the chair of the commission, the study commission. Also, you're the treasurer. Yeah, Jim DeDad is with us here. And all right, this came up with the conversation last week on the radio. The idea, and this, remember, this was my editorial comment because I am one of these Metro guys, and I know it would never work, but Millcreek has always kind of proven itself to be more financially stable than the city has been, and it could be a situation where it was capable of annexing the city, then vice versa. But that's not going to be a thing.
No. I mean, that came up last week on your show.
You're right.
And that, I have to tell you, Joel, that's the first time I ever heard that.
Seriously?
It's ridiculous.
Well, I understand it, but there used to be threads, actually very serious conversations in this town, not about Millcreek annexing Erie, but literally, trying to get more of a metropolitan. The idea of Erie becoming again the third largest city, having more population. And ending duplication of services. Can you imagine? You guys are paying through the nose now for your new fire department. Mm-hmm. Is there extra capacity with the city's fire department? And we work it out with mutual aid. And I mean, it's a myriad of things, right? But that's just a guy can dream.
When I came up here 26 years ago, I sat on the regionalization study.
Oh, you did?
Yes. And the one that they were going to start with was water and sewer. I was with the waterworks.
Yeah.
And then they looked at other public services, health, safety, public safety. And there are some benefits to it, but this study is not promoting that.
Has nothing to do with it.
Yeah,
all right.
No.
So just to be clear to the Millcreek voter here, let's talk about this concept of, again, Mr. Philbeck was promoting the idea that if you're going to do the 5 part-time, what do we call them? We're calling them supervisors, but they would be elected by district, so that Bell Valley would have a district, and West Millcreek would have a district, so on. You guys you're not down with that, are you?
No, our recommendation is to have this 5 at large.
Okay.
Which is the way they currently
why is
do
that?
it.
Okay.
Well, that's the way they currently
do with the 3.
And so that's not a real change for the township and for the voters. But also, at least my belief is that if you do it by district, the voters don't have a chance to, to express themselves or to elect council members that are in other districts. And so you do it all at large. All the candidates are equal. They're supposed to all represent the township. They're not, even though they're from a district.
Right.
And so conceivably, Bell Valley is the one that we talk about kind of getting left out.
Sure.
But if you do it by district, and all of a sudden Bell Valley has 4 or 5, well, maybe that's excessive, but they have 2 or 3 good candidates. All 3 of them can run, and all 3 of them could get voted in. Now
under our recommendation.
So,
at large.
So you'd rather do the at-large thing there.
Just continue how we're doing it now.
Right, right. The manager is selected. So this is really the difference between our county council, county executive example and what you're proposing for Millcreek. And so the accountability, I mean, does this mean necessarily then that this is a weak manager?
I will say this: the accountability, I think, is even stronger with a hired manager versus an elected official running it, and it's a little bit different. It is a weak. The council actually directs the manager.
Right.
At the county, the executive and the council, I think, are equal.
Yeah, they're equal branches of government.
So there was talk about accountability. The manager would be accountable on a day-to-day basis. On an elected official, our supervisors, they have a 6-year stint. Mm-hmm. Okay, very few times can you get somebody out unless for complete.
Are
their
these 4-year
duties.
terms that you're proposing?
Based by state law, they're 4-year terms. Yes.
Okay.
So the sitting supervisors would serve out their terms. We have one that's being elected this November. They would be able to serve out their full 6 years terms. There's somebody coming up 2 years later that will be, then that person would be elected we'd have an election for, I believe, however that works for a 2-year term or whatever, to get back on the municipal elections in 2 years. A 2 and a 4, I think.
What other changes to the elected official scheme does this new system work? My understanding is that the elected township auditor goes away, or no?
Well, I believe it does.
Right.
The sole purpose of the auditor right now is to set the salaries for the supervisors. Yeah. Under the new form of government, the supervisors actually set their own. They're limited by state law to about just under $8,400 a year, a stipend, 83 and change. Right. But that's actually, they actually would set their own. And what we found, and Jim, if you want to...
No, I'll tell you, in the townships that we compared ourselves to, and a lot of the other townships that we didn't compare ourselves to, the stipend that they pay their council members, even though the maximum allowable is $8,400, we'll say, it's just under $8,400, they're paying them $4,000 or $5,000, and these are townships outside Philadelphia. So
it's basically gas money.
So it's gas money. The people aren't running for these positions because they need the money or want the money. It's they love where they live, and they want to give back, and they can do that without having to give up their full-time job.
Let's talk about big picture stuff.
That's pretty.
And the concept of the whole Erie region is needing to turn the flywheel, and there's shoots and starts. For example, the Millcreek Township as a whole did a strategic plan. Reinvent. What is it? Reinventing Millcreek, right? Mm-hmm. And the Gateway project was a central part of that plan. And again, as an Erieite that goes to the beach, it's like, geez, do I want to see closed up big box stores on my way to the beach? That can't be a good look for your friends from Homestead who are coming up to the beach. So we got issues. We've got stormwater issues that still seem to be like an unfixable idea here. What do you say about this government commission plan that will get at the heart of the real issues that Millcreek Township residents and taxpayers are facing?
Well, I think the supervisors are doing as good a job as they can. It's tough to manage by committee. Okay, they're looking at these different projects and at these different issues, and it's a 2 to 1. It's always having a professional person in there that has had experience with some of these things, development, stormwater. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, my good friend, he working with engineers on some stormwater issues in his township. It's not a management by committee. It's somebody that has this background, has this training, and I think that person, he or she, could bring a lot to the table that would resolve. I'm not saying it's going to happen overnight, but when you get into that, where the council trusts the manager and the manager uses their background and their education and experience to solve some of these things. A lot of the people we have in there that get elected don't necessarily have the background to manage those types of, to even deal with those types of situations you're talking about, Joel. And I think that's why they just seem to linger. And they're worried about, I hate to say that, they're worried about re-elections. Sure.
Any thoughts on that, Jim?
No, I think he nailed it. I mean,
another thing that is seemingly unique to Millcreek is big budget line item for legal fees. Now, I understand some of this, again, is connected to stormwater, but is also connected to, lawsuits and things. I don't really understand it. Can you guys shed some light? And is that impacting any of your findings from the commission?
Again, being the budget treasurer, I've got the numbers, and that's part of the report. And
why are our legal fees so high in Millcreek?
legal, well, again, it's the form of government. It's not the people's fault that are in, these positions. It's that they're getting voted in, and then they have to put on their management hat and operate the township. Mm. But they just came from another job, unrelated. They don't know yet how the township operates. So they need assistance, and
we have solicitors for that.
So,
right?
so they've gotten in the habit of relying on the solicitor to help them through some of these problems. Whereas an educated, or not educated, but
that has the background, that has the experience.
Yeah, experience is what I wanted to say. Manager will know how to do some of these things without needing the assistance of a legal counsel. That legal counsel is needed. There's definitely a need for certain things, but they can cut back. This is one example earlier where legal counsel went to the site
Shrine Club,
and spent 2.5 hours, was it?
2.4 hours.
And that wouldn't be necessary. A manager could have done that.
That's a manager's job.
Yeah,
to do that.
Yeah. Are we looking for, if this passes, are we looking for some Superman or Superwoman to run? I mean, it sounds. Again, this is different than the mayor. It's different than the county executive, because you're saying we're hiring a professional engineer or a licensed, No,
those were your words, professional engineer.
But we're like a licensed public administration
certified,
person.
certified township managers.
Yeah,
right. I don't think you're looking for some super person, but I think you're looking for people that have an established background, that they can bring a resume of doing that type of work versus, an elected official that might come from varying backgrounds that get elected. And to be honest with you, most people, I shouldn't sell them short, but a lot of people might not even understand that the supervisors actually are full-time employees that are taking a nice salary and operating the township. Our proposed form of government would let them establish the policy, operate as elected officials, like they're operating every other township in the Commonwealth, and turn over the administration of the township operations to somebody with the background, with experience. And as Jim pointed out, separation of duties, that's something you look for all the time. You can't establish a policy and carry them out. That's just not healthy.
And we can
I think what is the rub is that Millcreek got much bigger than everybody else.
Yes.
Right. It's 50,000 plus residents. And they're seeing at all of the other townships, we have, three person supervisors, and the guy that's the road manager literally goes and gets onto the plow, because they have one plow sometimes or two. They see Summit, flush with cash, but it's 3 supervisors. They see Harbor Creek functioning well and doing economic development. And they're like, well, what's holding up Millcreek? Well, Millcreek had its moment in the 70s and 80s, right? But now is pretty much fully built. And, not every decision in the 70s and 80s has gone well for Millcreek. And now you're trying to retrofit it.
The complexity of Millcreek Township, the operation, but based on its growth, as you said, they had their time. The smaller townships, that might work for them, the form of government they're using. But as the complexities go with, Facebook and the electronic world, now we're talking about, as you said earlier, paid fire. We have a police department that the other townships don't have. There's a lot of complexities. The park structure, where you bring your stuff that for the mulch plant and whatever all that. It's a very complex operation, and I think some of the smaller townships, you say it's working everywhere else. Lawrence Park, for instance, has voted to hire a manager.
Right.
They understand the benefits of that professionalism and that experience. As a council, there was no citizens group. The council themselves decided to bring on a manager. Now it's going to be a little bit expensive because they're not replacing anybody, but they just felt that was necessary in their situation.
And again, these current supervisors could hire a manager if they wanted to.
Yeah.
They could, but addition to staff.
Like I said, it would be additional.
It would be a
cost.
lot,
and it hasn't happened in how many hundreds or
150 years,
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Let me throw a question out at you, and again, you don't have to answer it. But is there anybody on the commission that is in favor of the current Gateway project?
I don't know that ever was even discussed.
Has it never been discussed?
No.
As chairman,
Yeah.
that's never been discussed at our meetings. I don't know where people stand on that.
Okay. Again, there's a narrative out there that this is just a blowback to the spending of the $7 million from
that's just
from
an
the
example
money.
of how this form of government caused that to happen. I don't
Caused
think,
what to happen? I'm sorry.
Caused the way they went about it to happen. I guess I would say I'm in favor of the Gateway project, but not how it worked out.
Okay.
And I think it could have been done a different way without having to spend the money they did. But with the segregation of duties or whatever, legislative separate from the operations, the executive side, I don't think it would have happened the same way.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, again, you're asking the voters to say, imagine something different, right?
It's very difficult to get people to change.
Sure.
And I'm not saying Erie is alone in that, but Erie's been pretty set in their ways, and Millcreek and the area, the region. It's very comfortable for people to say, let's just stay where it is. It's not, And I'll be honest with you, it would have been easy for us to do that.
Sure.
It would have been
and
easy
just
for us.
saying, you know what, we'll just.
Well, yeah, it's not bad, but it was overwhelming to me as a non-political person. I mean, Waterworks was kind of semi-political, but never really in politics. It was hard for me not to be vested in this effort, just because, like I told the people last night, I moved up here 26 years ago. I've had opportunities to leave. I'm still here. I love Millcreek. That's the only reason I'm doing this. There's no other reason other than I think that the evidence, the groups that did the interviews and the budgets and the audits that we looked at in Millcreek Township itself. I hate to even say that. Some of the reserves are kind of dwindling and things like that. Is Jim? I think Jim was alluding to that, how that played out at that Gateway project. I think that we can do better, and that is the only reason I'm in this role. And I'll tell you what, it's been an eye-opening experience for me.
Sure. Any final thoughts as we bring this for a landing here?
I'll let you go first.
There's so much here, and I have all my papers spread out because I'm not sure what direction you're going to go. And I put pen to paper, in my job, and so as an analyst and auditor and all that, so I don't have all these things memorized, so it's all here. But there's, so much that in this short period of time, and it really has been a short period of time, that I've learned. I guess I want to go back, maybe just picking one thing out, the forms of government. When you talk about the 4 forms that we had to look at, 3 of those forms involved an elected mayor. And that's one reason it was easy, I would say, for me anyways, to quickly say, those 3, I don't want an elected mayor. I don't want to add another elected official.
Interesting.
That has that kind of power. So.
Okay. Paul?
So for me, I would say that first of all, I'd like to thank all the commission members and the alternates. We've spent a lot of time on this over the last 9 months. There's been a lot of negative comments, a lot of things, and I've become calloused in my years, so it doesn't really bother me. Some of our people might take a little bit more personal. You asked about the Gateway project. I know that is an issue. Our commission never treated as an issue as to making up our minds. But some of the negativity that's going around, and even like I said, I think even the people that are against it are saying that, well, they could just hire a manager, and it's basically what we're recommending. Why are they then so against a formal change of government? They're saying, well, we could do that now. Add 2 more supervisors and hire a manager. Well, that's exactly what we're suggesting. Well, I'm not exactly sure why they're opposing the formalization of that. And quite frankly, after 5 years, they could, if it doesn't work out, which if it gets voted, it doesn't work, people could form an effort to change it back. But I don't think that would ever happen. Yeah. And I think that I just hope the people in Millcreek Township take the time to make an informed decision. We have 2 more meetings coming up. I might want to plug those. 2 more public forums. We have one at the Villa Marie Community College, Erie Community College on October the 6th, Monday, October the 6th at 7 o'clock. And then our final meeting is on October 27th at the Alliance Church on Zimmerly, First Alliance Church on Zimmerly, also at 7 o'clock. It's a Monday night.
And there's a website too, right?
And we have a website. Right.
What's it called?
MillcreekGovStudy.com.
MillcreekGovStudy.com.
Yeah.
Paul Vojtek, Jim DeDad. Thank you, gentlemen, so much.
Thanks for
I appreciate this rigorous conversation. I appreciate it very much in the spirit it was conducted.
Thank you too, Shanny.